My name is Anthony Hinton. My date of birth is 6/1/56, and I'm being interviewed at EJI.
Okay. My name is Justin Hosbey, and today is June 16th, 2015.
Brittney King.
Justin Dunnavant.
Brittany Mejia.
And Derick.
Okay. And we're here in Montgomery, Alabama with Mr. Anthony Hinton. And we've learned much about your story and your background. And I think for this interview, one of my focus was I wanted to hear more about you and more about how you see the criminal justice system and ways that, from having 30 years of your life taken, as you mentioned, what do you have to kind of critique the system or say, what can be changed so that this doesn't happen, at such an endemic level? Because we've learned before that 1 in every 10 people on death row gets exonerated. Mm-hmm. So I guess if you can give just an overview of just your case and what happened.
I think first is justice system. We are told and taught that we live and have the best justice system in the world. That might be true. But when men use their power to manipulate the system, it makes the system look bad. I think we live in a time where racism still plays a part. Perhaps none of us want to acknowledge that, but it's a fact of life. In the South, white men still dominate the political scene. They judges, lawyers, prosecutors, senators, all decisions come through them. And so I often say that when it comes to justice, we are taught that justice is blind. But I assure you, the lady can see. She sees what race you are. She sees your education background. She sees what neighborhood you live in. She sees what college you come from. And when you come through the door, that determines whether you're guilty or innocent. And being put on death row for something that I know that I didn't do and the prosecution know that I didn't do, it's just reaffirmed to me that how they can take a black man and put him in prison anytime they want to, because you don't have the money to hire a qualified lawyer. And so you stuck with the lawyer that the system provides for you. Some cases, lawyers are divorce lawyers. I don't think no one would want a dentist to perform a heart surgery operation on them. So how can you expect a system that is rigged with all the loopholes and all the little back door that goes on? In my particular case, I was 29 years of age when I was arrested. I was arrested for attempted murder, attempted first-degree kidnap, and first-degree robbery. After I got arrested, they went and found that I was at work at the time, that the charges that they arrested me for wouldn't stick. So they dropped those charges and charged me with 2 capital murders. So I didn't know exactly what capital murder was at that time. I went to what they call preliminary. I was given a lawyer. And the white lawyer told me, he said, I didn't go to law school to do pro bono work. So I knew then I was headed for an uphill battle. And the first thing I think in the justice system you need is a lawyer that believes in his client. And if you don't have that, we're starting off on a bad relationship. And so as time went on, my lawyer didn't, in my opinion, do what he needed to do. I found out years later that he was friends with and had represented the very detectives that had arrested me. On my way to jail, one of the detectives told me that 5 things was going to convict me. And he said it was more than likely I was going to have a white jury. Number 2, I definitely was going to have a white prosecutor. Number 3, I was going to have a white judge. I was going to have a white man that said that I shot him. And he said, and you got a white defendant lawyer. And he said, you know what that spelled? And I said, no. He said, conviction, 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 conviction. And I often tell people if I could meet that detective, I would love to shake his hand and say, you was right, 4 out of 5. I didn't have an all-white jury. I had probably 5 blacks on my jury. And it just showed me and confirmed what I've always knew, that when it comes to the justice system, it's predominantly white. We live in a state in Alabama where all the judges on the Alabama Criminal Court of Appeal is white. All the judges on the Alabama Supreme Court is white. And all the cases that come before them is probably 80 to 90% all black. So if you have a history of a racist town, a racist state, it still goes on. And I feel that in this day and era, blacks shouldn't have to worry about being falsely accused for a crime that they know nothing about. This case should have been over within 24 hours. My case deal only with ballistics. All they had to do, test the bullets, come back and be truthful and say the bullets don't match. But they came back with a lie. They came back because they knew that I couldn't afford an attorney. They knew I couldn't afford a ballistic expert. And so it costed me 30 years of my life. And for 16 years, when I got EJI to get on my case, they begged the state of Alabama to re-examine the ballistics, and they refused to do so. I went through, I think it was 3 attorney generals, and all 3 of them refused to test the bullets. And what seems to be, should have been, the most easy case for any lawyer, even a lawyer that just come out of high school, should have been able to win this case, but it ended up being one of the toughest cases to get overturned. It is, and I just think in this, we shouldn't have to go through a court. If you saying test the bullets, test the DNA, that's what justice should be about. It either gonna help you or it gonna hurt you. And if I had been guilty, why not just test the bullets and come back and say, hey, we test the bullets and they match. But they knew that it didn't match. They knew 30 years it didn't match. And so I hate to put it in this regard, but I look at it as they had the rope around my neck. The only thing, they just didn't pull it. But they had every intention of executing me. And so it was just by the grace of God that in 2013, I think it was, the United States Supreme Court voted unanimous that I deserve a new trial and my lawyer was ineffective. And that's something that never have happened in the history of the courts. All 9 of them voting the same way. And so...
Mr. Knight, I had a question. I was wondering, just reading about your case, my question was, and what do you think, what were the motives of the people who convicted you? Do you think that it was, mostly it's an intersection of class and race? Because my question was always, well, why would you go so far to convict this man who the evidence is so meager for?
It was, in my opinion, two factors. The fact that the prosecutor were racist and the fact politics. We as citizens love when a politician, especially a prosecutor, tell us that they have and going to remove criminals off the street. Everybody loved that. So at the time that I was arrested, this prosecutors was running for re-election. And what better way to get re-elected when you can stand and say, I just put the most dangerous criminal that ever walked the streets of Birmingham on death row. And people tend to flock to the poll, and that's what they vote for. So it was a combination of both, racism and the fact that I was easy talking, he could get away with it. And as I said, politics. And politics plays a part in who goes and who don't go.
What was it like when you discovered that the Equal Rights Initiative was going to represent you in this case?
Oh, it was like a breath of fresh air. I wrote Mr. Stevens a letter from death row. And again, you sit there and you hear so much about an organization. So I wrote him, and I wrote, my letter went like this. Dear Mr. Stevens, my name is Anthony Ray Hinton. I'm on Alabama death row for a crime that I did not commit. I would love for you to come and talk to me about my case. I cannot afford to pay you for your time, but I'll be more than happy to pay you for your gas. And so that's all I could say. I wanted him to explain to him eyeball to eyeball about the injustice that I was being punished on my part. And I asked him to show you how much I know about Alabama and its racists. When he agreed to take my case, and we agreed that to hire ballistics expert, I begged him not to hire anyone from New York, anyone from California, Detroit, Chicago, nothing. And that was because I know how racist people in Alabama frown on people of New York and stuff like that. You hear them say the Yankee. Well, that's a code word. He wasn't white, he's not Southern. So I begged Mr. Stevens to hire 2 Southern white men. And I told them they can be for the death penalty. All I wanted them to tell the truth, and they find it. And so he hired 2 out of Texas, and he hired 1 out of Virginia. And they don't get no southern than Texas and Virginia. And so when they came down and tested the gun, they told him, said, we don't see no match. And so they didn't tell me nothing that I didn't already know. It just shows you that we believe in a system that when racist people is controlling, you don't stand a chance. Mm-hmm.
How did you find out about EGI?
I was in my cell, and I had a TV at the time, and I happened to go to PBS TV station, and it's always about news or something. And I saw Mr. Stevens on PBS, and I asked some guys who was that, and they told me his name, and he was talking about the death penalty, why we shouldn't have a death penalty, and that's how I become the known. I just wrote him after listening at him talk and putting it in a humorous way. It's been a good marriage ever since I met him. So if it wasn't from him and his staff, including Mr. Andrew now, I wouldn't be here today. I came within 2 years of probably being executed. I never was given an execution date, but within the next 2 years, I have no doubt they would have set an execution date on me.
After they got on your case, how long did it take for it to become resolved?
16 years or better. Almost, I would say close to 18, 20 years.
And what What was the issue?
The issue was ballistic. That's the only thing the state had. The state was saying that the bullets that they got out of the victim matches the gun that they retrieved from my mother home. And I knew that was a lie. I knew it was a lie. And that's the only thing they had.
So the issue of ballistics, that was what was holding EGI back from being able to close that case? The courts did not allow that for them to have access to the old bullets?
Well, the courts allowed them to have access to the old bullets, but the state, due to the fact that I had already been convicted, the state of Alabama was not obligated to do any more testing. The state was saying, we already don't have a trial. He's been convicted. We satisfied, and we not going to go back and test these bullets again. And the only reason that the state didn't want to go back and test the bullets because they knew that it would show what it should have shown 30 years ago. So we had to fight and get my case overturned. And we went through the Alabama Criminal Court of Appeal. They turned me down. Went through the Alabama Supreme Court. They turned me down for 16 years. And finally, Mr. Stevenson told me he was going to file to the United States Supreme Court. And when he filed to the United States Supreme Court, they agreed that I deserve a new trial, that my lawyer was ineffective. And therefore, that's how I got out. Because now the state couldn't deny testing the gun. And when they test the gun, the test result, as they say, showed inconclusive. So it showed that they couldn't get a match. And I'm telling you that they didn't get a match 30 years ago. Two things don't change: fingerprints, DNA. And those bullets did not change. They had control of the bullets the whole 30 years. And every time we went and tested bullets, it came back different than what the state said. So I'm like this: if you believe in justice, why not get your expert, my expert, together, in which we did. We asked the state expert, come show us how you got that match. In other words, if I sit here and draw a portrait of you, and he take it, and you say, I don't believe you draw that portrait, I should be able to sit here and draw that same portrait again. But the state was not willing to show my ballistic expert how they came up with that match. And the only reason they couldn't come up with a match because they knew it didn't match.
Mr. Hinton, I want to ask you about your family. Were you in correspondence with your family while you were incarcerated? And just from just what you could tell from just if you were, what was the effect that, you're being taken away from your community, what effect did it have on your family?
For 30 years, I didn't see my family. I am the baby of 10, 5 boys and 5 girls. And strange enough, I grew up thinking that we was a close-knit family. But justice has a way of dividing families. And I don't know, was it that they was heartbroken to see me in prison? I do know they supported me during the trial stage. But once I was convicted, I didn't see any of my family. I was able to call them from time to time. And as years went by, as bad as I hate to say it, I think they just gave up on me. And so I stopped calling them and focused on my situation that I was going through. One does not and cannot afford to focus on friends, family, or anything, because you're in for the fight of your life. But it devastates you that your friends, your family don't support you. It devastates you that you've been taken away from your community for no reason other than you was black. The fact that my mother had lost a son. When she passed, it was it's like my whole world just stopped. And so she passed in 2002. And I'm told to this day that my mom passed from a broken heart. Think about it. An old lady don't know what to do to help her son. She knows she don't have the finance to help him. And so she did all she could do, and I guess when you're dealing with black culture, is pray. We believe prayer. And so when I got the news that she had passed, it was like, well, I have no reason to live anymore. But I knew that she wouldn't want me to give up. And I often tell people that's when my faith kicked in. I prayed. I read the Bible. And my favorite scripture when I read the Bible was Mark 11 and verse 24. And that verse said, what things soever you desire when you pray, believe in them and you shall have them. And I didn't ask God but for one thing. I didn't say let me live to see it. I just said let the truth come out. But I didn't ever believe that the God that I believe in and the God that I serve would let me die for something that I didn't do. And I often tell people jokingly, he came through, I guess, on his own time. But when I see him, I'm going to get on him for letting me stay in there 30 years. I believe that. So, but when you lose in the sense that I lost, and you should have never been there, even to this day, I cry. I've been out 2 months, and
I want to reiterate to you that we appreciate you
Thank you
very
so
much
much.
for spending time with us and sitting with us, because like you said, this was the fight of your life, and we all definitely have the utmost respect for you. And that's why so many of us are in this room right now, because of the respect that we have for you. So I know that's not really consolation, but just so you know that we appreciate the time that you're spending with us.
thank you.
Definitely.
But you don't want to believe that they put you in prison just because you was black. You don't want to believe that this is the system that we have. But that's the truth of it. You didn't just put me in prison, you put my mother in prison. You put my neighborhood in prison. You put the people that care about you in prison. And no one on the other side seems to care. And the way I felt about my mother, that was the love of my life. And I'm not ashamed to tell anybody that I had a mother that loved me unconditionally. And I just felt that I let her down, although I was not responsible for being in prison on death row. But I felt that in her old age, I should have been the one that carried her a glass of water. I should have been the one that was there by her side, like she was for me all the years.
know for some of us coming from Florida, I think especially, particularly Brittany, for the work that she does, your testimony is particularly powerful because Brittany was telling us earlier today a statistic about, what was it about youth in Florida? Was a statistic about how I think a quarter of the youth who are sentenced to life in prison, that happens in their Floridian youth, like a quarter of the youth in the country that are sentenced to life in prison are from Florida. And I think that
That's around 13.
around 13, yeah. And I think that, knowing that, like you said, the way you said the system is kind of rigged in on some ways,
It is.
makes you wonder if you had any ideas for if the system were to be reformed in any way, if you believe that reform is even possible, what do you think should happen, or what do you think are ways that the system can be reformed?
I don't think the system can be reformed. I think what all of us fail to realize, you wipe out generation of families. I know you're able to go into a restaurant that you used to couldn't go in. You go to schools that you used to couldn't go to. And they got us believing that everything is okay, except on the politics side. We still live in a separate neighborhood. The neighborhood that they really don't want you to live in, they price it so high that you can't even afford to live there if you wanted to. The system is rigged. It's big money in sending people to prison. In fact, I would challenge anybody to survey. Prison is probably the most popular business, profitable business in America. You have over 2 million people in prison in this country. That's more people than some third world country. And they come up with all these ideas. At one time, crack cocaine. You was more like, a black man was more likely to go to prison for crack, and you served more time than what white man were doing powder cocaine. So all of this plays a part in racism. They get elected by district, and certain district, it don't matter that 2 or 3 of us live in that district, we still don't have the power to elect other people. I don't have a problem with white men, black men, white women, or any race. I just believe when you're elected as an official, whether you're a DA or judge, you should go by the law and not create your own law as you go. And I think that the fact that it was so easy to put me not in prison, but on death row, all of us should be outraged, whether you live in Alabama, whether you live in New York or wherever, because I believe what happened to me was happening before me, and it's going to happen after me. And I'm willing to take a stand and let everybody know what the state of Alabama did to me. And I believe that the state of Alabama will do it again and have done it to others. So I don't think until people start learning how to vote and stop voting on racist lines, how can you expect any black person to feel comfortable when you got 9 Alabama Supreme Court judges, all white, and 5 on the Alabama Criminal Court of Appeal, all white? How do you think you would feel getting a fair judgment? And I would love to ask the same paper that I filed to the United States Supreme Court, they filed them to the Alabama Criminal Court of Appeal and the Alabama Supreme Court. They turned me down every time. But yet, I would like to know what the United States Supreme Court say that the Alabama Criminal Court of Appeal and the Alabama Supreme Court didn't say. But I already know the answer. And that's the sad part. They weren't even smart enough to hide racism. And you don't have to hide it. there's no consequences for what they did. I can't turn around and sue them. They can't be disbarred. They need to be disbarred, but they can't. So they make laws to cover themselves just in case this comes. So I believe that we are helpless, and the only way we can make a change is that we have to make a loud noise, and we have to demand change. We have to demand that every time an innocent man is put on death row and they prove it, someone should be held accountable. No one is being held accountable for me spending 30 years on death row.
Wait, I'm sorry, David. Before you haven't spent so much time, what possibly could compensate you, because you spent 30 years of your life, and there were 30 years of your life, and I think that they kind of create a formula for, in terms of monetary value. And what do you think? How can they possibly compensate you? Because they have to do, if justice is a priority, you need to be compensated in some way. I definitely believe that. Mm-hmm. So what do you think would be a fair compensation for you, considering what they've taken from you for 30 years of your life?
Well, first, there's no amount of money that can compensate me. An apologist won't compensate me. But if I could get one thing, if they came to me and say, tell us one thing that you want, and we'll do it, that would be end the death penalty altogether. That's what I want, because the 30 years is gone. I don't want it to happen to her kids, his kids, your kids. And if I could just tell whoever make the decision, we don't need a death penalty. Too many men and women are being executed. Too many men and women are being exonerated. I think it's 153. Now imagine if 153 planes had fell out the sky from time to time. This country would be in an uproar. The government would shut down traffic until someone came up with why the planes are falling, and someone would have to come up why they won't be falling again. But no one seems to care when it comes to the justice that innocent men and women are being put in prison for an amount of time, only to come out uneducated, only to come out broke, only to come out brokenhearted. And so it's no one care. As I said, no judge. I got released Good Friday. And when I got sentenced, the judge asked me to stand up. And he said, Mr. Hinton, I sentenced you to death. And he said it with a smile. The prosecutor went out in front and told the camera, today is a good day for the people of Birmingham. We got rid of the worst killer that ever walked the streets of Birmingham. On June 3rd, 2015, no judge said, Mr. Hinton, we're sorry for what you went through. No prosecutor came out and said, 30 years ago, this man was wrongly convicted. Everybody went and hid. To this day, haven't nobody been man enough, woman enough to come forth either by a letter or anything and say, we're sorry. So it tells me that either they coward or they just don't care. And to me, justice is not about putting people in prison. Prison is designed to put bad people away. But prison is also designed to put the right people away. And this didn't happen in my case. And I can't elaborate enough for all of us that is of color in this state. You have to walk very careful, because the system is designed to lock you up. And I find it amazing on football season the racist judge, the racist people in Alabama will cheer for those black guys that running that ball on Alabama team. They would cheer for the guys on Auburn, Mississippi, anywhere in the South. But after that game over, everybody go back to their separate places. And most people say the Alabama is separated on Sunday more than any time. I beg your pardon. Alabama is separated when it comes to the justice system. There's only one black DA in the 67 counties, and that's in Selma. So that should tell you something.
Having had your experience, can you think of any measures that can be put into place that would make the criminal justice system more accountable? You talked about a lack of accountability.
I think I would love to be able to hold those that are responsible that did this to me accountable. But I'm going to show you how, when you're able to write the law, no judge, no DA you cannot sue them. You cannot hold them accountable for whether it was a mistake or whether it wasn't a mistake. They is protected like a dangerous bird. So I can't do nothing to them. So when you make laws to protect the ones that is going to do these things, it makes you feel like you're helpless. And I need every man, every woman that's believe in true justice to stand up and say something about it. So I would love to be able to say to you, instead of money, I think that judge, that DA should be disbarred, never to practice, never to prosecute again. But I can't, because he protected. And they know they protect. And when you protect someone, think about it. If you protected that you cannot be prosecuted, you're going to go in the courtroom and lie and do whatever you want. And even though years later down the road it's proven that you lied, so what? What you going to do about it? They took 30 years from me. And if I could, I would love to see them go on death row and spend 30 years. But that'll never happen, so I'm living in a wish world. So my goal today, tomorrow, and every day of the rest of my life is to try and educate people about the justice system, the unfairness of it. Most people don't know that prosecution is hindered from being liable for their lies. But now if you lie, and they find out you lied on the stand, they can charge you for perjury. But that same prosecutor cannot be charged. Where's the justice in that?
What have been some of the happier or happiest moments that you had for the past 2 months of being out? What are some of the things that make you smile and you think about it?
Believe it or not, I wake up every morning smiling because I have been given a second chance. One of the most happy moments, I was able to give a thank you dinner to all the workers here at AJI, and just to get to know each one of them, and for them to come and well up there and take a part in the celebration was more than I expected. And one would think after spending 30 years on death row, you don't have a whole lot to smile for. But I have more to smile for than perhaps all y'all, and hopefully none of you ever been in jail. Because when I tell you I value life, I value it now more than ever because I witnessed 53 men being executed. I had the unpleasant of smelling their flesh still burning the next morning. I witnessed 12 men hanging themselves because they couldn't take the pressure. I witnessed 10 men slashing their own wrists. So in the 30 years that I was there, I seen death all around me. And so for me to be able to come out with a decent mind, a good attitude, and a moral sense for life itself. I think I'm ahead of the game already. To be able to encounter you all, I count it as a blessing. And so I don't find a whole lot to complain about. I find more to be thankful for. I'm thankful that God has blessed me to get my license. I'm driving. I'm going to the mall, which is not an easy thing to do. This technology that y'all youngsters is using, I'm catching hell using it. I don't know why y'all text one another when you can just call one another. It's just so much I don't know. And in the 30 years I was there, it's like life just passed me by. I mean, first day I got out of jail, my best friend carried me to visit my mother's grave, and he put the address in there, and I heard this white voice say, 1/10 of a mile, turn right. And I turned around, what the hell? And I knew there no white person get in the car with us. And I'm wondering, where in the world, where's she at? How'd she get in here? And it scared me so bad, he said, that's the GPS. It's take you exactly there and tell you where you need to turn. And so I find that amazing. And I was given a phone, some said it's a i5 or whatever. And time I learned one thing about it, my little nephew showed me something else. So I don't know will I ever be able to catch up, but I do know this. If I happen to be talking to you and she called while I'm talking to you, she gonna have to call back, because I don't know how to put you on hold and say, hold on a minute, I ain't trying to learn all that mess off. So technology have grown, and whether I ever be able to catch up with it, I don't know. Again, I try not to worry about anything that small. As long as I know how to dial a number and answer the number, I'm good with it. And on my little phone, I can mash it, and I can say, call Bubba. And she'll say, call in Bubba. And I thought, man, this is fantastic. And it's, I learned how to FaceTime my little niece. And I said, well, Uncle Ray ain't never got to come to Cleveland again. All we got to do now is FaceTime each other. So it's just been, to me, a blessing to be out and to enjoy life better than I ever enjoyed it before.
You brought up your niece. Can you talk a little bit about the experience reconnecting with your family?
Well, when I say I forgive the prosecutors, in order for me to forgive them, I had to forgive my family. I can't forgive one of you, not forgive the others. Forgiveness is forgiving and going on and living your life as peaceful and best you can. So we had our first family get-together dinner last week. We intend to eat somewhere every month just to get to know me. And I'm going to try to get to know them. And I have expressed to them the past is the past. The fact that you didn't come see me, you didn't write me, I'm okay with it. I want you to be okay with it. For whatever reason, they didn't do it. That's between them and the person, the God that they serve. But me, I hold no regrets. I hold no hostility toward them. And I think that's what makes me a better person, is learning how to forgive. The fact that my mom taught me, she used to tell me all the time, always be responsible for how you treat others, but never be responsible for how they treat you. And so the fact that some people can treat others with downright hatred, don't mean that you should treat them back with downright hatred. If it's wrong for them to treat you that way, it should be wrong for you to treat them that way. So learn to love, learn to forgive, but more importantly, learn to enjoy life. And so I cannot enjoy life if I got a hatred for them. And so that's not who I am, that's not what I'm going to be. So far the 2 months been good. We laugh and we talk, and I think my baby sister is so full of guilt that it's hard for her to look me in the eye. And so I have to comfort her in a way that I'm saying, listen, 30 years ago, you made a mistake. And I forgive you for that mistake. And we're going to be brothers and sisters till we die. So we just hug and go on with it. And so she'll cook something. I said, we just brothers and sisters. I'm not going to eat your cooking. So we ain't got there yet. But you have to learn to forgive. And I forgive those friends of mine that I thought was my friend when they didn't come. And it's strange that you asked that question, because since I've been out, everybody come up to me. I got an excuse why they didn't come, why they didn't write. And it's 2 things I made it known to this law firm. I don't accept excuses, and I don't accept people that is late. The reason I don't accept excuses is because there is never a reason for an excuse. They didn't come because they didn't want to come. Perhaps they didn't want to be associated with a brother being on death row. Or perhaps they fear for their jobs. I don't know. But I looked at it that for 30 years I fought alone. I wish I could have wrote people. I didn't even try to find their addresses like other guys did. I just did my time my way. Did it with a sense of humor. I would allow my mind to just take me far away. And when I say far away, man, I'm talking about, I imagine sitting down having tea with the Queen. And we talked about the royal family. The mind is a beautiful thing if you allow it to work for you. And I would read anything I could get my hand on just to pass time. And what most people don't realize about death row is, after spending 30 years there, I slept in a fetus position for 30 years. I could never stretch my legs out because the bed wasn't long enough. I took a shower every other day. I walked sometime once a month, sometimes not at all, because they didn't have the guards there. And the thing that, if I had one thing to choose that say that got to me, was loneliness. I felt so alone. And when loneliness sits in, it makes you think about suicide. I'd be lying to you if I told you a voice didn't never come to me and say, go and hang yourself. Don't get a state that opportunity to do it to you. And for those that did hang themselves, I believe they gave in to that voice. Every man on death row, regardless of whether you're in Alabama, Miami, whether you're in California, wherever, a voice will come to you and tell you to give up. Don't suffer like this. And you have to be strong. You have to have faith in something. And so that's what kept me, the fact that I had faith, and I knew that my mom didn't raise me to be a quitter. I fight, and I fight harder than I ever had to fight. And I was just blessed to come across an attorney like that. He may not look like a good attorney, but he's a good attorney. So he was one that helped worked on my case, and he will never know how much I appreciate him and how much I love him for what he did for me, because society had thrown me away, and society had forgot all about me. But just when you think no one cares, I'm sure he stayed a lot of evening and worked on my case. And so the fact that I'm here talking to y'all, it's nothing but a blessing. I count it as a blessing. And I'm just thankful that somebody thought enough to take my case. And it took us a while to win it, but we won. And so, again, I take every day and I just move forward with it and not look behind.
What was the story? I know there's a story you tell about you would make jokes with the prison guards. And can you tell us that story, what you were saying?
Well, you know, once my sense of humor kicked in, I couldn't cut it off. And so what I learned about human beings was, regardless of where you work, you go through problems as well. And so the guards would come by, and I asked the guard one day, I said, "Hey, officer, I just got off the phone with my mother, and she ain't feeling too good." He said, "I'm sorry to hear that, Anthony." I said, "I'm glad you feel that way." I said, "But I need to borrow your car." I said, "And I need to go check on her, and I'll be back." I said, "But just in case I don't come back, I'm going to have my brother to bring you your car back, but I promise I'm going to be full of gas." And so they would laugh about it. So they got so familiar, and I said, "Well, laughing every day, I'm going to see, can I start charging them for making them laugh?" And so another guard would come by, and I'd tell him a joke, and I said, "Well, bring me a piece of cake tomorrow." And sure enough, they'll bring me a piece of red velvet cake or something. And I said, "Well, I'm on to something here." And so one guard come by about a month or 2 months later. He said, "Anthony, I got a sandwich for you." I said, "No, your wife trying to kill you. She ain't trying to kill me. She made that sandwich for you, and you need to eat that sandwich." So it was like I was searching inspiration to the guards, and the warden would just come and ask me to talk to different inmates, and when they retired, they would ask me to come and send them off, and I would go out there and I said, "Well, after 30 years, you finally woke up and decided to retire." And I look at them and I say, "I want you to really know I ain't never really liked you. I just tolerated you because I had to." And they knew I was just teasing with them, but I believe no matter where you at, you have to learn to try to get along with people. And no one there put me there. They didn't lie on me. So I just took it as an opportunity to become friends, if that's the word you can use, to try to make my life better, to make theirs better. And I believe if we in this room, we should just try to get along to make being in this room better for all of us. And so since I wasn't going anywhere and they wasn't going anywhere, I just felt it's better for them to get to know me, and I got to know them. And I just became, as they call it, the joke master down there. I could take something and look at them and make a joke about it and make everybody laugh. Mm-hmm.
So one of my cousins is actually in jail right now for a crime he didn't commit. They gave him a life sentence. So one of the reasons one of my cousins is actually in jail right now for a crime he didn't commit, and they gave him a life sentence. So the reason why I really wanted to talk to you is because I just recently started connecting with him and building our relationship. And I'd just like to know something I could tell him to reassure him so his stay is a little more bearable.
Well, first of all, you got to tell him to never give up. I don't know if he's trying to appeal this decision, his case. Do he have a lawyer?
He has a lawyer, but he's out in Jupiter, County Jupiter. Jupiter, Florida, around Vero Beach areas in West Palm Beach, Florida. So it's a little hard for the justice system for our people down there. It's probably about as racist as it is here. So they've given up in a lot of ways, especially on our family side. The money's an issue, but nobody's really trying to fight for this case.
Well, see, first, after that, I would tell them to, if they have and they should have, get off into the law library. Look up cases. I did all the time. Andrew didn't know. I was checking behind. Every time he sent something down to the prison, I go to the law library. I couldn't work the computer, but I would get somebody to look up these cases and I would read them. It wouldn't hurt that if he wrote others' lawyers and asked them their opinion. But the main thing he needs is support. Trust me, support goes further than anything you can have in the penitentiary. Knowing that there's someone out there that is willing to stick by you no matter what. And if you happen to be that person, don't be afraid to embrace him. Do what you can for him. A letter. I didn't receive letters from anyone. But the fact that you can be that person and make him all of a sudden get this lively again because he knows there's one person that is rooting for him. And you also can try to find out as much as you can about his case. And perhaps you can call lawyers. He loves to talk. Maybe he might be able to give you a quick insight or a case log or something. He might be able to know a lawyer in that area that he can refer you to. Sometimes when you think you don't have anything, you have everything you need. But you have to concentrate and first of all in saying, okay, this ain't going, this is what we're going to do. The first thing I would just ask you to tell him, he got to believe that a wrong will be made right. And you give him your strength. And once he draws your strength, things will probably begin to get better. And I would, like I say, tell him that if he don't know anything about the law, there's somebody there in that jail, in that prison, know about the law. And if he can read, and like I say, you just ask questions with different lawyers and surround yourself with trying to learn as much as you can about the case. And you'll be surprised what you might come up with. But I would just tell you, don't give up on him. Just give him some strength and make him believe and make him honestly believe that good things happen. You can tell him, say, well, there's a man I talked to was on death row for 30 years. And he out because he didn't give up. He was innocent just like you. Tell him my story. When people hear my story, especially those that is in jail, guess what they believe? If it happened for Mr. Hinton, it can happen for me. But you got to relay that message to him. And I see you with your phone, give me a number, and if you don't have a high bill, say they call me once a month. This month we'll talk crazy talk, laughing and go. Next month we'll talk serious. What you need me to try to find out what you need me to do, that's how you go about it.
Interesting, because I don't give too much information, but he does have a phone.
Oh, I got you. I know.
So he calls me every now and then.
I got you. I got you.
Mr. Hinton, I wanted to ask you about your future plans as well. We've read some things about you want to start maybe a community center or a youth center. How do you see your future, and what are your future plans?
I see my future plan as being bright because I want to, again, talk to as many young African-American kids as I possibly can. There's no such thing as they too young. I think the younger you start with them, the better chances they have of not ending up in prison. I want to be able to let them know, although you might go to college, college don't exempt you from going to prison. There's plenty of guys in prison with BA's degrees and doctorate degrees and everything else. So you got to really be truthful to them and let them know that you are a dangerous species. You are being watched. And if there's 3 of us in this room, statistic-wise, 1 out of them 3 will end up in prison. And that's way too high. So I want to be able to talk to youth, and I want to get pastors back to the way it was when I was coming up. Church was also a way that the community would always watch one another and try to guide one another. We've gotten away from that. If it's not my family, not my brother, I don't care. But see, I believe what affects me today can affect you tomorrow. And so it's time that we all join hands and we all got the same accord. And that is, we're trying to fight injustice because it's in every neighborhood, it's on every corner. And so I want to just be able to be a light for those that are in darkness. I want to be able to look down on a person and help them up, not look down on him in a mean, negative way. I want to be able to say, hey, believe. And that's the strongest thing you can have is belief. You may not have a dime in your pocket, but believe and carry yourself as though you have a dime. And sooner or later, believe it or not, you'll have a dime. I came out of prison with $3.65, and I think later on that day, Mr. Stevenson went to the teller, showing me how to use an ATM card because they didn't have them when I was out. And he got $25 out and he handed it to me. So that, see that was $25 more than I had. And believe it or not, I still got that $25. I refused to spend it because that started me to prosper. And so I want to just be a light for people. I want to be a light, not just for black people. I want to be a light for everybody when it comes to this justice system. I want to show people it's not what you think it is. There are some hidden agendas, and you got to be able to watch them. There's an old saying in my community, if you see a rattlesnake, you're not supposed to be able to bite you. And so you have to educate people in order for this system, if it ever going to change. And we got to stop fooling ourselves like everything is okay. And I'm not going to fool everybody. I'm not going to tell you everything okay when it's not. And so hopefully I'm on my way to trying to help people. And if I can help just one person stay out of jail, again, the 30 years that I spent, to me, would be worth it. Because I don't want no one to go through what I went through. And I'm not in the best financial help or the best emotional help, but I'm trying to get there. And so whatever I can do to help anyone, I'm willing. All I got to do is call me. And I'm willing to go and do what I can for that person.
I don't know if you have any particular last words or last message that you'd like to leave with us, unless there anybody have any other questions.
The last word I would like to leave is that this world is a better place than we realize. There's some good people in this world. Sometimes it takes tragedies for us to see that. This law firm that I refer to as EJI, thank God for it. If it wasn't for them, I don't believe I would be, I know I wouldn't be here. The fact that they did what they did and never worried about the cost and what is the cost for the free or innocent man. And I would just ask people to write them sometime and just say, I seen that you helped free this man. And I just want to tell you thank you for doing that. So sometimes you don't need to know a person. You don't need to know nothing but the address. and give them some encouragement because they need it. They have tough time, and that's why I try to kick it with them and make them laugh. And I can't pay them, so all I can do is try to get a smile. And to me, a smile is worth $1 million. And so I would just ask people to stop acting like everything is okay. Get involved in your community. Get involved in the legal process. Sometimes if you ain't doing nothing, go down to the courthouse and sit in on the trial. You'll be surprised and amazed at what goes on and how it goes on. And so I want to thank y'all for coming, and I want to thank you for picking me as the one that you wanted to talk to. It's been a pleasure, and I will tell my wife when I get home. I didn't tell y'all I was married to Sandra Bullock, did I? Yeah, but that's my wife. I married her when I was on death row, so I'll make sure I tell y'all hello.
You know, that's a funny story because I did my research in New Orleans for my PhD. Mm-hmm. You know, she lives in New Orleans.
Oh, really?
And she actually has a scholarship fund. She gives around $10 million every year to Warren Easton High School in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. I think the top 10% get sizable scholarships to go to college. All of them. She kind of got that school, so okay, I'll tell her if I see it.
Yeah, I think she don't got married since she divorced.
No, I don't think so. I believe she's single.
Yeah. Well, she don't know we married yet.
Okay.
But I think with Andrew get the paperwork so we can mail her the paperwork. So, but you know, it was being able to escape. That was one of my escaping when I seen her and play in the bus, and she played in the Michael movie about adopting this young black football player, and you don't read nothing negative about her. So I would love to meet her one day and just tell her that she was my imaginary wife and everything. So I tell people often what it takes for me to get through today. It may take something totally different for you, but at the end of the day, I hope that we all make it. And I appreciate y'all for coming and taking the time out to spend your busy day with me. It makes me honored and proud. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you.